Hey everybody, Nick here, and today we're going to do a little disassembly and maintenance on this little guy right here. This is the Spyderco Lil Vallotton, or Vallotton, not even quite sure how to say it. But either way, we're going to take it apart. So, yeah, this is a really cool little knife at some level. I reviewed a full-size one, and I actually disassembled a full-size one previously on the channel. Whoop, looks like I didn't even need to take that one off. Interesting. Okay, so this is, unless that's a pin, I hope that's not a pin. Oh God, it may be screwed in on the other side. We're going to find out. But either way, so this is an interesting piece. Like I said, I'd reviewed the full-size one previously. That's a simple fact, and it's a simple fact. People weren't going to trust me on that, apparently. Yeah, guys, it's been a long day. But the other one was relatively straightforward to take apart, although it did absolutely take a little bit of doing, because there were multiple layers and things like that on this knife, where there usually aren't on, well, frankly, anything. So, you know, yeah. But I'm going to go ahead. Come on. There we go. Popping this guy loose. And the pivot is out. Excellent. Little bit of a thread locker, but not too bad. Nice and straightforward. And we'll pop these scale screws out. And my dream here is that once I've popped these scale screws out, or line of screws, I guess, at this point, that everything will disassemble itself nicely, and I won't have to take the clip off and then get into that whole area. We're going to find out here, but yeah, okay, good. Okay, this is easy. Well, ish. So, one practical consequence of all of this is that I didn't actually need to take this piece off. And so if you were following along at home, then guess what? You took a piece off unnecessarily. But I did not need to take that piece off at all. Now that it's off there, I'll go ahead and leave it off for the moment. But, yeah. He says, actually not 100% sure. I should have. It ain't over till the fat lady sings. No. Okay, yeah, it's over. We're good. I hear her. She's out there. So yeah. There we go. And knife is apart here. A couple of things I'll highlight is that the centering was dead on, by the way, and hopefully will be at the end of this as well. But this is an exceptionally smooth knife. I mean, the Taichung factory from Spyderco does good work, and this is no exception to that. I have very much enjoyed carrying this guy, and in fact, this is one of a relatively few knives that I carry before I disassemble. The reason for that is that I actually got this guy from Spyderco directly when I managed to swing through Golden, Colorado, USA Earth. And so I carried this guy in the rest of the trip, because, you know, the only other knife I had was my Spyderco Packwood Dragonfly, which I brought. And so I did give this guy some pocket time, because, well, hey, why the heck not, right? Might as well get started, and, you know, gives you a chance to experience something new. So anyways, this guy has had some carry. It's had some use. It's had some wear. And as a result, this is not factory fresh, even though this is directly from the Spyderco folks. So, yeah. But I'm hoping that it'll actually smooth out even further, although it's pretty damn smooth as it stands. Because, well, it'll run on more lubrication. Frankly, I'm not sure it was super lubricated at all previously. So, there you go. Practically speaking, we're done here. That's kind of cool. So let's go ahead and get reacquainted with this knife here. What I'm going to go ahead and do is run this knife. Okay, I'm trying to decide what oil I want to run this guy with. So, this is a washer knife, and the Spyderco Taichung washer knives, there's a lot of phosphor bronze washers, tend to run pretty well using a mix of grease and of oil. And the grease that I'm going to use here, I think I am going to go this route, it's called Nano Grease. It's from the same folks who make the Nano oil. I don't have strong opinions, however, about this particular grease. You know, it's fine. It works well, but you can probably get other grease cheaper elsewhere, and it'll probably work just as fine and just as well. But I'm going to apply a little bit of this grease to the overall washer here. And then on top of it, I'm going to put a little tiny bit of oil. And I'm going to use, because I'm looking for something a little thicker here, I'm going to use the 85 weight oil here. And this tends to, in my experience, produce a really very glassy sort of feeling on these knives. Look, is it necessary? No. In fact, I'm completely overthinking this. But, yeah, that is simply the case. One thing to note, there is no stop pin because the thumb stud itself is the stop pin here. But yeah, so by doing that, the combination of grease and, as I grease my freaking finger over here. As I do that, the combination of grease as well as what am I saying here? Oh, the oil. I generally can get a little bit smoother than you might have otherwise been able to do with just the oil or just the grease. But again, this could be entirely, folk science. I don't freaking know. I don't have good ways of testing smoothness. I'm sure that somewhere out there is such a thing as a smoothiometer, but I don't own one, so, yeah. Actually, I guess all you'd really need is some kind of a rotational actuator, then measuring the amount of probably electrical power needed to move it over the course of its motion. So if you see major spikes, it's like... Anyways, I digress. Back to the freaking knife disassembly at hand. So there we go. I have now put this guy back together. I need to make sure that this stop pin, and this is the stop pin only for when the blade is closed, goes back into place. Everything's dropped into there. I'm having to, part of my process here is putting the liner lock down so that the knife... Oh, shoot, I forgot to grease the stop pin track. That is a detail, isn't it? So I'm going to actually, I can kind of cheat here because it's already aligned and I don't want to lift everything back off. I'm just going to put a little bit of grease directly onto the... and I'm sorry, I didn't mean stop pin track. I meant the detent ball track. By putting a little grease on the detent ball and then running it back and forth, that'll do the trick, generally speaking. So, okay, knife is now closed. Let's go ahead and start putting everything back together here. I'm going to start off by, with everything kind of loosened up here, pushing that stop pin. Yeah, I think that's optimally seated. Okay, and there is a little cutout for it, so that's good. The edges of this G10 are actually very sharp, which makes sense. That's kind of what you want for it to sharply meet these the metal there, but it is something to keep in mind, to be careful with. I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of Loctite on this guy. I'm using the blue Loctite, blue 242 medium thread lock. Is this 242? Liquid stuff's 242. I guess this is just a blue stick. But whatever it is, it works. Go ahead and use that to drop this into position here. Doing that mostly because that corner is a little fragile. I don't want to break it as I'm doing anything else here. Now what I'm going to do is drop these scale screws back in place. These are T6 again. And put a little bit of the Loctite on there. Is the Loctite necessary here? Probably not. Because it's not like these screws are going to back themselves out because they're covered with this G10 here. But, one of those things that there's no real harm in doing it. I've been on the same stick of $5 Loctite for 8 months now. So it's not exactly a putting me out of house and home, so to speak. Okay, and then let's go ahead and drop in the pivot before we do anything else so we can adjust that. I'm switching back, so I was using T6 for those guys. I'm going to switch back to T8 here for the pivot. And I'm going to throw the pivot on the floor. That's cool. Nicely done, Nick. All right. Here we go. This is a very, very short and shallow pivot screw here. All right. There we go. And I'm kind of tightening this down a little bit here just to pull the pivot the rest of the way through. You can see that pivot screw retreating into there. This is absolutely going to be a little too tight here. It's actually, well, for the moment. The nice part is that the non-cosmetic elements of this are now completely in place, so I can do a little of the action tuning first, just in case I do need to... No, we're dead centered. Oh, yeah. A little tiny bit of play there, so I am actually going to tighten things back down a little further. There we go. Oh, that is smoother. Oh, that's nice. No vertical. I can tighten that down a little bit further. No horizontal. No vertical. Dead freaking centered. Yeah. beautiful. And as that wears in over time, it'll get better. That's the nice, well, one of the nice parts of a phosphor bronze washer is that things do tend to get better over time. It's like a fine wine. As time goes on, it ages and gets better rather than worse. Unlike, your Teflons, that kind of things. Where the heck did my screw just go? These just barely go into the thing at all. Put a little bit of Loctite there. It's maybe slightly worrisome for the long term, but come on, seat. Seat yourself. Why is this not seating? I think I just need to get the proper pins popped in properly. Come on. All right. Now I'm getting to the point where I'm worried I'm using a little bit of brute force, so I need to make sure there we go. Just wiggle things a little bit. Now we can we'll hit a point where it is in the right position. Everything just kind of snaps down. Here, I'll loosen this a tad. There we go. Okay. Why are you not wanting to go into position here? There we go. Oh, yep, perfect. All right, now we're snapped. Sometimes it's just a question of kind of manipulating things around until everything goes into the proper alignment. All the little pins go into the right places and the little holes. It works out. But be very careful. Don't use brute force in those kinds of situations. Very, very, very seldom, except when something is really hard to take apart, is it going to be really hard to put back together unless you're, trying too hard. Because the last thing you want to do there is, oh, God, that's smooth. Yeah. The last thing you really want to do there is really push it and run the risk of snapping something or another. So there you go. I hope this has been interesting to you, that you enjoyed this little disassembly. It was actually a lot easier than I expected it to be. But then again, yeah, nicely made. So there you go. Have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.